welcome to the Art of Being Human. On the last segment, we finished up comments that I had to make about emotions and also what I had to say about personality and personality theories. Now today I want to start another segment, or it's actually a segment within a segment, of self-concept. We keep talking about self-concept. What is it? And when we talk about people that have a good self-concept, are they arrogant? Are they not arrogant? I know a lot of people who believe that if you feel good about yourself, then you're going to be arrogant, you're going to be hard to live with, and so therefore you should not feel good about yourself. And then I have other people who are saying, well, if you can't have a good self-concept, then you can't be healthy. You've got to be able to feel good about yourself in order to be emotionally healthy. So I want to just go from the beginning. What is self-concept? What does it involve? Is it safe to have a good self-concept? Will you be arrogant if you have a good self-concept? Which, by the way, that's not true, and I'll be explaining that. So self-concept is basically how you feel about yourself. Do you like yourself? Do you not like yourself? Do you think you're talented? Do you think you're not talented? Do you think you can accomplish a lot? Do you feel you can't accomplish anything? How do you feel about yourself? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Self-concept is how you feel about yourself. That much is true. But it's based upon how you innately feel about yourself and how you feel other people feel about you. So it's a combination of those two things, at least in my mind it is. If you feel that other people feel good about you, then you will feel good about yourself. If you feel that other people do not feel good about you, then you tend not to feel good about yourself. So you have a combination of how you feel about yourself based upon the successes that you've had, based upon the things that you've tried that have been successful or not successful, and based upon how you feel other people feel about you. Now, that's not the same as how other people feel about you. It's how you think they feel about you. We are a reflection of what other people feel about us if we understand what they really feel about us. Now, I know this is sounding wordy, but it is true. Self-concept is a combination of how you feel about yourself and how you feel other people feel about you, which may be accurate or inaccurate. If you feel that they don't like you but they do like you, then you have an inaccurate perception of what they think of you. If you think they like you and they really do like you, then you have an accurate picture of how they feel about you. Now, it sounds a little complicated, but it's important. It's important to have a good self-concept. Healthy people will have a good self-concept. That does not mean that they don't understand that they have their weaknesses. I can't do math. Mathematics and rational things and technical things I just don't do well with. But that doesn't mean I hate myself because of it. It means I'll never be an engineer. However, so it's a combination. You need to know, in order for your own satisfaction, how you feel about and how you feel other people feel about you. Now, I started a little bit on this on the segment, the last segment we had, because I said it might be wise for you to talk to friends of yours and see how do they feel about you. What is it that attracts them to you? What is it that they know about you that they like? Or what is it that they think of you as being weak in? And when you get a sense of where people are in terms of their relationship to you and your relationship with them, that'll help you hone down what you need to know about your self-concept. So it needs to be a good, healthy self-concept, not a negative self-concept. People who are healthy have healthy self-concepts. It does not mean that they're arrogant in any way, but it means they have a realization that they do have gifts and they do have talents and they do have abilities, but that doesn't make them superheroes. It doesn't make them arrogant. It doesn't make them proud. It doesn't make them, it doesn't make them know-it-alls, in terms of being hard to get along with. Nothing like that. The self-concept is what it is. You like yourself, you don't. You like yourself, but you have weaknesses. And I think it's important for mental health to know what your strengths are and your weaknesses are, and to embrace them both. You know, if you know you're a wonderful artist, you paint wonderfully, but you can't cook, or you can't do anything that's housekeeping because you're just not interested in it, embrace that as being a part of you. If you have a learning disability, I think this is particularly important for people who have learning disabilities. You know there are certain things you can do and you can do fairly well, or you can do very well, but there are other things that you can't do well. Embrace that as being a part of yourself. It does not mean that you're any less of a person because you can't do everything, and it doesn't mean that you're any less of a person because somehow you can't do certain things that other people can do. I rarely cook. I've lived in my apartment now for almost 10 years. I've never used the oven. Every time they do an inspection, they're amazed at how clean the oven is. The oven's clean because I've never used it for 10 years. Why? Because I don't cook. I don't know how to cook. I never learned how to cook. I make simple things I can heat on the stovetop, or I can put it in a microwave or something. I never bothered to bake. I don't have a baking pan in my apartment. And people say, oh, I'll give you some fish, I just caught it. I say no, because I have no way of cooking it because I don't have a baking pan and I wouldn't know how to do it anyway. But do I feel less about myself because of that? No, not at all, because there are other things that I can do instead. No person can do everything. And even if you can do everything and you're one of the few, that doesn't mean you have to do everything. Just because you can do all your lawn work and all your gardening and all your child care and all your professional work, and you can be a professional person, you can do all these other things. If something breaks in the apartment, you can fix it. You can do everything. It doesn't mean that you should do everything. It just means that you have the ability to. But if you have the ability to do everything, it doesn't mean that you have to do everything. The problem of having a negative self-concept is that you start to feel worthless. You start to feel of less worth. You start to feel that you're not as good as other people. If I can't do it, then I have less worth. I can't cook, so I have less worth. I can't do mathematics, so I have less worth. Other people can do these things. I can't do these things. What does that mean in terms of my self-worth? Because you see, self-concept is based upon self-worth. Do I feel I'm worthy? Do I feel I'm not worthy? Well, just speaking as a fellow human being, I would say if you can't do something, you can't do something. It's not the end of the world. If you can't fix your car when it's broken, that's all right. There are other people who can do it. You don't have to be good at everything to be worth something. You know, God has given us all instinctual worth. He has given us worth. He has given us integrity. And it doesn't matter how good you are at something or how poor you are at something else. It just doesn't matter. It's not going to affect your self-worth because you can do something or you can't do something. You know, it doesn't. What difference does it mean? If you can be a good person, if you can follow your heart, if you can be as creative as you can be, and especially if you can follow your faith and what your faith teaches you and you follow that, then your worth, it's there. God gives you worth, God gives you integrity, and no man can take that away from you. No person can take that away from you. You know, the Bible says that God is no respecter of persons. He loves everybody, and he wants everyone to be a part of his kingdom. And the way that it's done is that he wants to save you, he wants to help you, he wants to be with you, he wants to take care of you. It doesn't matter whether you've got a high IQ or whether your IQ is low. His love is right there. God not only has love, God is love. And so he loves you, and you have a right to feel comforted with that. You have the right to feel important with that. Do we feel that a baby is of any less worth because they can't walk yet, they can't talk yet? Of course not. They will grow into what they can be, and we adore the babies and take care of them, and they're valuable and they're important. They're important because they are. You are important because you are. You are a created being. So you wouldn't want to let any fear that you have about ability or inability to squash what you can become. Just because people are different doesn't mean that they're of less or more worth because they're different. If you can't do something and somebody else can, well, that's something to celebrate. Somebody else can. You can do things that other people can't do. I know when I've counseled children especially, they tend to compare themselves with older children because they can't do the things that older children can do. And I can remember, and I'm just giving some examples, I'm not thinking of any one particular thing, but if a person, I latch on to what a child is good at. So if a child is good at swimming, but they're complaining because their big brothers or big sisters can do so much more, I can simply say, yeah, but you can swim better than they can. And these individuals would say, yeah, I can swim better. So you've got a leg up on that. Do not consider your worth tied in with what you can do or what you can't do. Do not consider your worth to be tied in to what your intelligence is. That makes no matter. Whether you are good at something, whether you're not good at something. And you will find that the people who do the most creative work are, generally speaking, the humblest. The scientists, the ones that I've known, the people who have traveled all over the world, the ones that I have known, they're humble about what they can do and what they can't do. Now, I taught a person, and I'm not talking about anything that's confidentially, but I taught a person, she had not gone to school, excuse me, because she had some health issues, so I kind of tutored her and worked with her. She hadn't graduated from high school and she wanted to, so I was helping to get her ready for her GEDs, and I was just doing a lot of counseling and a lot of teaching with her, and she just happened to be somebody that I know, and she asked me if I would teach her, and I said yes, I would, and so I did. And then she got angry at me. And she got angry at me, and I couldn't understand why, because what she was learning was fine. She was learning to read, she was learning to write, she was learning to do a lot of things that she had never done before. And she was angry at me because she thought that I had advantages that she never had. Why is it you were able to go to college, you're able to get advanced degrees, you're able to write books, and I did publish a book and some other articles which I got an award for, and you're able to travel overseas. I never had those opportunities. Why not me? Why you? And she was thinking that somehow there was a big discrepancy between she and I because I had some advantages that she didn't have. So I needed to calm her down on that, and the reason I'm telling you this story is that it happens to a lot of people. They feel that if they can't do what somebody else has had the opportunity to do, that somehow they are of less worth, and that's not the case. So as I explained to this person, you know, think of what God is doing in your life now. Think of the fact that you're learning. Think of the fact of all of the things that you're going to be able to do. It's not that I'm better than you or you're better than anybody else. It's the fact that we're all human beings, we're all living on earth, and we do the best that we can, and we take advantage of the opportunities that we have, and somehow it all evens out in the end. It doesn't mean that somebody's better or worse or richer or poorer. It has nothing to do with that at all. We're all of equal worth. And we all need to take opportunities as we have them. Now, why some people do more than others, I can't be the judge of that. I don't know why some people are given more opportunities than others. But, you know, I'm not an astronaut. Why couldn't I be an astronaut? Why couldn't I fly a plane? Why couldn't I be a research scientist? It's not in my nature to do that, and it wasn't what God had intended for me to do anyway. So we help each other out. We value each other. We feel that each other has equal worth, and that the fact that we're not the same doesn't make any difference at all in terms of our integrity or in terms of our worth. So if you have a healthy self-concept, you will feel that you are good, basically, not perfect, nobody's perfect. You will feel that if you make a mistake, that you're just human, you can rectify that mistake if at all possible. You will feel that other people have equal worth to yourself, You will help other people to be the best that they can be, and they will help you to be the best that you can be. And your self-concept will not be arrogant. If you're a research scientist, you won't be arrogant because you're a research scientist and somebody doesn't know how to pass a basic math course. That doesn't enter into the picture. You have been given gifts, you use your gifts, you're thankful that you have those gifts, and you know that God gave you those gifts, so therefore there's nothing to be arrogant about. You did not give gifts to yourself. Somehow they were imparted to you, but you don't have gifts that you gave yourself. So therefore you can't take credit that you're a superior human being because you are more intellectually gifted than somebody else is. And I've seen it so many times. The most brilliant people I know, they are the most humble people. So you need to accept whatever you are, whoever you are, you need to accept your gifts. You need to accept whatever it is that you've been gifted with. You need to accept the fact that other people are different. We need to rejoice in our differences because nobody's like anybody else, just like no two snowflakes are alike. No one's ever found two snowflakes that are alike. There are no two people that are exactly alike. And you don't need to get yourself so wound down and so hurt because you think that you're not as good as somebody else. You are who you are, and you can always grow and be the best that you can be, and that's what's important. You can always help somebody else, and that's important. You can always understand what your personality really is, how you can relate to other people, how you want to relate to other people, and how you can help other people in the process. So I don't want to go too much. I don't want to go too much further than this because we don't have too much time left. But just understand the differences that we have as individuals are normal, helpful, intriguing, and is a part of our development. As people, no two people are alike, and they shouldn't be. So rejoice in the fact that you are not the same as somebody else. Rejoice in the fact that you have gifts that other people don't have, and even if other people do have, it doesn't mean you're any less of a person because they appear to have more gifts than you do. We just get all intertwined and all wound up with the fact of how good we are, how bad we are, what we can produce. I think it's a part of our society that we tend not to let life be as it is. We tend not to rejoice in differences. We tend to rejoice only in ourselves and what we can accomplish and so forth. We need to be less selfish. We need to be more caring of other people. So I'm going to close it here, and we're going to continue with this next time. I'm going to be getting into disappointments and how to handle disappointments. And then after that, we will get into the emotions that we feel and how to handle each individual emotion. And after the emotions, we'll be getting into forgiveness. I've been asked to do a segment on forgiveness, which I plan to do anyway. So I'm going to get some material out of the way first and then kind of tie it all up with that. So I hope you are learning from this. We'll close it here, and please join me next time.